Welcome, deep divers. Okay, picture this scene for a moment. A man in Medina, right? And he's walking, but his eyes are fixed, like right on his own footsteps,
Mm,
almost trying to put his feet exactly where the Prophet, peace be upon him, might have walked.
yeah.
His whole presence, the way he moves, it all just mirrors the Prophet.
Okay.
And he lives in the house where the Quran was first compiled, his sister Hafsa's home.
That's right.
Every day he goes to greet the Prophet at his grave, then Abu Bakr, then his own father, Umar. It's quite a powerful image, isn't it?
It really is. And it's not just, a nice story. This is Abdullah ibn Umar, a man who really, truly embodied the Sunnah, the Prophet's way.
Right.
He's often called maybe the most pious companion, deeply ascetic. His whole life was just wrapped up in the love of Allah and his messenger. And he lived a long time, one of the last major companions in Mecca. So he became this vital bridge, you see, to the next generation, the Tabi'in, who learned right from the companions.
So that's our focus today. We're doing a deep dive into the life of Abdullah ibn Umar. How did he become the Prophet's shadow? This living example of the Sunnah, unwavering principles, humility, generosity. How did he manage that? And what can we learn from him today?
It's a great question. His life offers so much.
Okay, let's jump in, starting with his early years. It's amazing how much he looked like his father, Umar.
Oh, definitely. The resemblance was striking.
People would apparently stare at him after Umar was assassinated, just to sort of remember Umar.
You have to remember what it felt like to have Umar around, and it carried on Abdullah's own son, Salam, looked just like him too,
Yeah.
like a family signature,
And he was born when exactly?
around 611 CE, just
Right.
like a year after the Prophet received the first revelation.
Wow. So he grew up right in the middle of it all in Mecca, witnessing his father's initial strong opposition.
Yeah, Umar's fierce opposition and then his incredible conversion. Imagine seeing that as a kid.
Absolutely. Now, there's this idea some people have that Abdullah actually accepted Islam before Umar. Is that right?
Ah, that's a common misunderstanding. No, he didn't become Muslim before his father, but he did precede him to the pledge under the tree. Bayat al-Ridwan.
Okay, explain that.
Well, Umar had sent him off to get a horse. Abdullah got back quickly, found the pledge happening, and he just took it right there before Umar arrived.
So it shows his eagerness even then.
Exactly. His zeal.
Ah.
He was ready. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, clearly saw something special in him. He nurtured that connection.
Yeah, apparently he'd ask Umar, "Where's your young man? Bring Abdullah."
It was a Prophet's way, wasn't it? Drawing the youth close, making them feel part of it all.
And this nurturing, it fueled his desire to participate fully, right? Even in battle.
Oh, absolutely. He was incredibly eager.
But he was too young for Badr, wasn't he? Like 13 or 14?
Yeah, too young. And turned away from Uhud, too, at 14, even though he was apparently quite big for his age, like his father.
But then came Khandak, the Battle of the Trench.
Right. He was 15 then. And the Prophet finally gave him permission to fight.
And that decision actually became quite significant later on, didn't it?
It really did. It sort of set the precedent in Islamic law, in jurisprudence, that 15 was generally the age for participation in jihad in that context. It just shows his level of discipline and devotion. Even as a teenager, people said out of all the youth, he was the most disciplined, maybe even like overzealous.
Overzealous in a good way.
Yeah, constantly trying to please Allah, clinging to every single word, every action of the Prophet.
That dedication is just wow. And his access was incredible.
Unparalleled, really.
Not just following the Prophet around outside, but his sister Hafsa.
Exactly. Hafsa, being a wife of the Prophet, meant Abdullah was his brother-in-law. He could go inside the Prophet's home.
Which was a huge privilege.
Immense. It meant he saw things others didn't. He narrated details about the Prophet's private worship, like the specific voluntary prayers, the rak'ahs, before and after the main prayers, inside the house.
Details few others could confirm.
Precisely.
So being this close, witnessing all this, how did it shape him personally? I heard there was a specific piece of advice the Prophet gave him that was really formative.
Yes, a pivotal moment. The Prophet apparently pulled him aside one day, put his hand on Abdullah's shoulder, and said something incredibly famous, one of the most well-known hadith.
What was it?
Be in this world as if you are a stranger or a wayfarer.
A stranger or a wayfarer?
And Abdullah took that to heart. It shaped his whole outlook. He later explained it like this. If you go to sleep at night, don't expect to wake up. And if you wake up, don't expect to sleep that night. Take from your health before sickness and from your life before death.
Wow, that creates such a sense of urgency.
Exactly. Urgency, seriousness, a detachment from this world.
Yeah.
Focus on what truly matters.
And his personality, even young, showed this mix of, like, humility and intense zeal. I love that story about the palm tree riddle.
Ah, yes. A great one.
The Prophet asks, which tree is most like the tree of Iman? Abdullah knew the answer, a palm tree.
Right. But he stayed quiet.
Too shy. Or maybe respectful. The elder companions were silent, so he kept quiet too.
It was deep respect, I think. Reverence for the elders present. His father, Umar, later told him, I would have been proud if you'd said it.
Yeah, it shows that balance he had. And then there's the dream about tahajjud, the night prayer.
Another defining moment. He really wanted to have a dream he could share with the Prophet.
And he dreamt angels were taking him towards hellfire, but then towards Jannah, towards paradise.
Yes, but he was too embarrassed to tell the Prophet himself. So his sister Hafsa relayed the dream.
And the Prophet's response.
He said, what an awesome young man Abdullah is. If only he'd pray a little bit of the night.
Just a gentle encouragement.
Exactly, not a rebuke. But Abdullah's reaction was immediate. From that day on, he never slept a full night again. He never missed tahajjud for the rest of his life.
That level of commitment is just staggering.
It really shows how deeply he absorbed the Prophet's guidance.
And the Prophet was so kind to him too. That story about the camel.
Oh, the runaway camel, yes.
Yes. Abdullah's camel kept going ahead of the Prophet's, and he was mortified, right?
Totally embarrassed. But the Prophet noticed his distress. So he stopped the whole journey, bought the camel from Umar.
Bought it from his father.
Yes. And then immediately gifted it back to Abdullah, saying, do with it as you will.
What incredible kindness, understanding his feelings.
A beautiful lesson in empathy. These stories, they build a picture, don't they? From youthful zeal to this incredibly deep, mature adherence to the Sunnah.
Absolutely. His love for the Prophet was just profound. Didn't he, like, count the gray hairs in the Prophet's beard?
He famously did, yes, before the Prophet passed away. And his meticulousness in narrating Hadith.
He wouldn't add or subtract a single word.
Not one. That's why scholars trusted him implicitly. He narrated over 2,000 Hadith, often weeping when he remembered the Prophet. It wasn't just about memory. It was deep spiritual discipline.
And he didn't just say it, he lived it physically.
Totally. He embodied it, praying in the exact same spots the Prophet prayed, making prostration where the Prophet did, walking around Medina trying to put his feet where the Prophet might have stepped.
Even watering that tree.
Just because the Prophet sat under it once, he said, I didn't want this tree to die. He'd use the same scents, wear similar clothes, dye his beard the same way.
It's like he was trying to capture the essence.
He even anticipated the Sunnah sometimes, like that specific door in the mosque.
Right. He heard the Prophet wish it was just for women.
Yeah, just express a wish. The Prophet hadn't formally designated it yet, but Abdullah, he never used that door again, ever.
He was literally a walking, breathing example. People would pray for him to live long just so they wouldn't lose sight of the Prophet's way.
They'd say, oh Allah, keep Abdullah ibn Umar alive so I can follow him. If there was a disagreement about practice, people would just look at what Abdullah did.
And that explains why so many hadiths, over 500 apparently, end with, and Abdullah would do it as well.
Exactly. It wasn't just theory. He demonstrated the practice. It left no room for doubt. He was the living bridge.
Which brings us to his principles. His sincerity, his ikhlas, was just on another level.
Absolutely. Think about Masjid Kaaba.
The mosque with special virtue?
Right. When he went there to pray, he wouldn't even drink a sip of water there.
Why not?
Because the reward is specifically for those going only for Allah's pleasure. He didn't want anything, not even quenching thirst, to potentially dilute that pure intention.
Wow. And performing Hajj or Umrah entirely in the state of Ihram all the way from Kaaba.
In an incredible feat. It just shows how focused he was on maximizing the spiritual reward purely for Allah. That ikhlas defined him.
And this absolute focus meant the Prophet's words always came first, even before his father's.
Yes, that story is very telling. A man asked about doing Umrah after Hajj. Abdullah said the Prophet permitted it. The man said, but your father Umar forbade it.
And Abdullah's response?
Firm. Is the order of this religion to follow my father or to follow the Prophet? Clear principle. No disrespect to Umar, just absolute adherence to the higher authority.
And he applied that principle even within his own family, didn't he, with his son Bilal?
He did. When Bilal tried to stop his wife from going to the mosque, Abdullah confronted him directly.
Citing the Prophet's words, don't forbid the female servants of Allah from the mosques of Allah.
Exactly. But Bilal persisted, talking out honor, and Abdullah became stern. He told him, Don't talk to me until you change your mind. I'll boycott you.
So it wasn't just about the ruling itself, but the act of directly contradicting the prophet's clear statement.
Precisely. He wouldn't stand for it, which also connects to how vigilant he was against bid'ah, against innovations in religion.
And in small things.
He corrected a man who added extra words after sneezing, explaining the prophet didn't do that. He disliked exaggerated calls to prayer or people, fainting during Quran recitation.
So follow the authentic way, avoid extremes.
That was his approach. Keep it pure, keep it grounded in the Sunnah.
Let's talk more about that relationship with his father, Umar, the legacy they shared.
It was powerful. The physical resemblance, as we said, but also character, sincerity, that imposing stature. Both loved sweet sense, too, following the prophet.
And both known for generosity and hard work, but Umar's sense of justice.
Wow.
Even with Abdullah.
Oh, yes. The pensions for the muhajirin, the early immigrants, Umar set it at 4,000 dirhams.
But gave Abdullah less, only 3,500.
Correct. His own son. When asked why, Umar said Abdullah didn't make hijrah independently. His parents brought him. No special treatment. Leadership meant zero favoritism.
A tough lesson, but a crucial one.
And Umar instilled that responsibility in other ways, too, like making Abdullah sell a healthy camel and give the money to charity, saying this is too much for us, or taking his kids on night patrols.
Teaching them service firsthand. Now, what about that incident where Umar told Abdullah to divorce his wife? That sounds quite harsh.
It does, and it needs context. Umar told him yes, and Abdullah obeyed after the prophet confirmed Umar's concern. It's understood as a very specific situation, perhaps divinely guided for Umar.
So not a general rule for all fathers?
Definitely not. Imam Ahmad later stressed that point. It was unique to them, not a blanket precedent.
What's really beautiful, though, is how much Abdullah narrated Hadith directly from Umar.
It's the most common father-son chain in Hadith. It shows Abdullah absorbed everything from his father that he might have missed directly from the prophet. A direct line of knowledge.
And incredibly, Umar, the caliph, would ask Abdullah for correction.
Yes. Can you imagine the great Umar asking his son, "Did I get that right?" It shows incredible humility and intellectual honesty.
Abdullah was there when Umar was stabbed, wasn't he?
He was. He witnessed those final hours, narrated Umar's last will, his worry about his debts.
About 86,000 dirhams, right? Which he told Abdullah to settle from his property first.
Yes, then family, then the Quraysh elders if needed. Even at the end, concerned about fulfilling obligations.
And Umar's request to be buried next to the Prophet and Abu Bakr, Abdullah had to ask Aisha.
A delicate mission. Aisha had reserved that spot for herself, but she selflessly gave it up, saying, "I prefer Umar to myself."
And Umar, ever cautious, made Abdullah ask again after his death.
Just in case her first answer was emotional.
Yeah.
She confirmed it again. True sincerity on both sides.
After Umar died, many wanted Abdullah to be the next caliph, didn't they? For continuity.
They did. He seemed the natural choice in many ways. But Umar had forbidden it.
Wow.
He said, "It's enough for one person from the family of al-Khattab to have this affair." He wanted to avoid any hint of dynasty or nepotism.
Wow. Principle over family.
Absolutely. He set up the council of 6 to choose, excluding relatives. Abdullah could advise but not be a candidate.
And Abdullah carried that principle forward, honoring his father's connections. That story about the Bedouin.
Oh, it's wonderful. Abdullah sees a poor Bedouin man, dismounts, gives him his own turban and his animal, and just walks away. He tearfully explained, he heard the prophet say, honoring your father's loved ones after his death is one of the greatest acts of devotion to parents. He simply remembered Umar having a pleasant chat with this man once. That was enough.
Just beautiful. It flows right into his piety, his devotion.
It really does. Constant worship, night prayers, daytime fasting, annual Hajj, always remembering Allah. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, the great scholar, said if he could testify for anyone entering paradise, it'd be Abdullah.
His connection to the Quran was so deep, too, weeping when reciting certain verses.
Like the verse asking, "Isn't it time for believers' hearts to soften?" He'd weep until he couldn't go on, or crying while drinking water, thinking of the people in hellfire, longing for just one drop.
That fear of Allah wasn't paralyzing, though.
No, it was motivating. It led to constant awareness, introspection, gratitude. Every simple act became a reminder.
And if he missed something, he'd make up for it.
Immediately. Missed a group prayer, more night prayers, missed a voluntary fast, extra days, always correcting, always striving.
He had his father's bravery, too. Apparently faced a lion once.
Yes, but coupled with profound humility. He narrated the hadith about not making someone stand up for you, and he lived it strictly. If someone stood, you'd sit somewhere else nearby. Refuse titles like best of people.
And his mastery of saying, I don't know.
Crucial. Despite his vast knowledge, he'd often say it. He feared speaking without certainty. When asked to write down his knowledge, he gave practical advice instead.
What was it?
Meet Allah, free from oppressing people or spilling blood, free from taking people's wealth unjustly, and with your tongue, free from harming people's honor. Practical piety over theory.
I love the image of him going to the market just to greet people.
Just to spread salam. Old, young, didn't matter. Not there to shop. Kids apparently loved jumping on his back, just connecting with the community.
And his asceticism, his zoost. It wasn't about being miserable, was it?
Not at all. It was detachment. His whole house wasn't worth the price of a shawl, he said. Refused digestive medicine because he hadn't eaten his fill in 40 years.
40.
It wasn't deprivation for its own sake, but prioritizing the spiritual. Detaching from comfort to connect more deeply with Allah and serve others.
And serve others he did. The generosity was legendary.
Wouldn't eat unless an orphan shared his meal. Freed over 1,000 slaves.
Wow.
Never turned anyone away. That story of the fish his wife made when he was sick?
He gave it to the beggar.
Twice. She bought it back, the beggar came again, he told her to give it away again. Same with some grapes. Prioritizing others even over his own needs or cravings.
And giving away huge sums, like 10,000 dinars, and then buying camel fodder on credit the next day.
Exactly. Money just flowed through him for the sake of Allah. Slaves would pray right at the front, hoping he'd see them and free them. People told him they were tricking him.
And he laughed.
Yeah, and said, let them deceive me for Allah. His intention was pure, focused on Allah's reward, regardless of others' motives.
Which brings us back to that shepherd story, the test.
A classic. Abdullah tests a slave shepherd. Sell me a sheep, tell your master a wolf got it.
And the shepherd's reply.
And what will I say to Allah? Just perfect. Abdullah was so impressed he brought the shepherd and freed him. That phrase captured the essence of true piety.
It's no wonder he disliked positions of power, refusing to be a judge.
He saw the immense responsibility. He felt he didn't have the direct divine guidance his father might have had. It wasn't cowardice, it was profound humility and awareness of the spiritual weight, knowing his limits.
So, later in life, during the fitna, the civil strife, how did he navigate that?
With principle. He refused to fight other Muslims. His stance was clear. Call me to fight disbelievers, I'm there. Call me to fight Muslims, leave me alone.
Stay out of the infighting.
Exactly. Based on the Prophet's warnings. It earned him immense respect across the board. He kept his integrity.
But staying out of fighting didn't mean staying silent about injustice, did it?
Not at all. Everyone knew where he stood. He confronted tyrants publicly. Told one ruler, Yusuf ibn Umar, "O enemy of Allah, you violated the sacred sanctuary, shed blood here. Just finished up what you have to say. No fear in speaking truth to power."
That clarity, that principle, it eventually cost him, didn't it?
It did. The corrupt ruler, al-Hajjaj, secretly arranged for him to be poisoned.
Poisoned?
Yes. And when al-Hajjaj came to visit, pretending to be concerned, Abdullah saw right through it. He called him out indirectly. The same person who allowed weapons in the haram.
Wow. Even then, holding firm, his dying regrets are quite something too.
They really are. Not regrets about worldly things. He said he'd missed 3 things.
What were they?
The long days of fasting, the long nights of prayer, and all the times I didn't fight against the oppressive group that afflicted us.
So regrets about missing more devotion, more justice.
Exactly. His focus was entirely spiritual right to the end. He even made sure his daughter got married before he died to fulfill a promise. Didn't want any loose ends.
Who did at 86?
Around 86, yes.
Yeah.
Hailed by many as the best man alive. And his legacy, immense, especially in Hadith.
The golden chain.
Imam Malik's golden chain of narration. Nafi narrating from Abdullah ibn Umar, narrating from the Prophet. Considered the most authentic chain because of the integrity of each person, especially Abdullah's meticulousness.
A direct, trusted line back to the source.
Precisely.
And finally, naming his children after companions, Salam, Abu Bakr, Bilal.
Yeah, encouraging that connection, providing role models, keeping the legacy alive.
So Abdullah ibn Umar, the Prophet's shadow. No power, no worldly gain sought, just absolute adherence, integrity, generosity.
His life really shows that true strength isn't in position, but in principle, in that relentless closeness to Allah.
It leaves us with a question, doesn't it? In our world, with all its pressures to compromise, to take sides, what part of Abdullah ibn Umar's life speaks loudest to you? Is it the principles, the generosity, that quiet integrity? What can we learn from the man who chose to be a shadow but left such a bright, illuminated path, something to really think about. Thanks for deep diving with us today.